Okay, so welcome to another deep dive. And today we're looking at something that I find super interesting. It's how AI, artificial intelligence, is changing the world of engineering. Like what does that actually look like on the ground? And luckily, to help us explore this, we've got, well, two things, really.
Okay.
First, there's this YouTube video. It's from DFX Logic. It's titled AI, the engineer's new best friend.
Okay.
Which, that title alone kind of sets the stage, but it gives us this like broad view of AI's impact. And then we've also got the resume and portfolio of
Mr. DF.
He's a project engineer. He's got like 24 years of experience across, so many different industries.
Wow. Okay.
So really the mission here is to connect these two things, right?
Yeah.
To understand AI's potential, like what the video is saying, and then to see how those trends like show up in the real career of an engineer, someone who's been doing this for a long time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great approach. And, I think what jumps out at me just looking at both of these sources is this theme of like evolution, Right. The YouTube video, like right off the bat, it talks about how far AI has come. It's gone from those, those early chatbots, like remember those? Okay. Pretty basic.
Oh, yeah.
To these incredibly sophisticated tools, like tools that engineers are like really using.
Yeah.
And it's not just like ask a question, get an answer. It's way beyond that.
Right.
The video really emphasizes that AI can now understand context. Like that blows my mind.
Right.
It can analyze these really, really complex visual and data inputs, which is, that's a game changer.
Totally. Yeah. It's like AI is not just this information provider anymore, right? It's like it's becoming a thinking partner.
Right.
And that's where it gets really exciting, right?
Yeah.
The video talks about this potential for like massive improvements in project timelines. So like imagine analysis that used to take weeks.
Wow.
It can now potentially be done in hours.
Right.
And projects that took months, maybe they can be done in days.
That's incredible.
And that kind of speed, it's got huge implications for like everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thinking about his career, alongside this, you see someone who's already been through so many tech shifts in the past, 20 years or so?
Right.
His resume even mentions experience with things like 3D modeling, and that's gotten so much more sophisticated.
Oh, yeah.
CNC programming for automated manufacturing, data analysis, which, AI is huge in that field now.
Totally.
And he even mentions VBA programming, like for automating tasks within software. So it's like, all of those skills, they give him this really strong foundation to kind of jump on these new technologies like AI.
Right, exactly. And speaking of evolving roles, the video also talks about how the role of the engineer itself is changing. It's not just about being super specialized in one tiny area anymore.
Right.
They talk about this need for engineers who can think big, who can think about the whole system, who can manage complexity, who have coding skills, who are good designers. And they even make this, like, I love this, they make this analogy of an engineer as a ninja.
Okay, a ninja, huh?
So like their technical knowledge is their sword.
Right.
But the agility, the adaptability, the ability to move quickly and decisively, that comes from programming powered by AI. What do you make of that, the ninja analogy?
Well, it's interesting because it connects to this, to the breadth that we see in Mr. Luffy's career. Like, he hasn't just stayed in one lane.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's done so much. He's been a construction manager, project engineer. He's been deep in safety and Kaizen,
right,
which is like this whole philosophy of continuous improvement.
Right.
He's done project planning and design. He's even been a design and strategic planner consultant. So, it's not like this straight line, super specialized career. It really shows that you need to be adaptable. You need a bunch of different skills.
Totally, yeah. And getting back to the video, they specifically call out Python. They call it the language of logic, right?
Okay.
And AI is the force of insight. So the idea, it seems like, is that these two things together, they're not just about making things faster,
Right.
It's about like fundamentally changing how we do engineering, making it so much more dynamic and intelligent. It's about moving away from these like manual, time-consuming tasks to a way of working that's not just faster, but smarter,
Right.
more informed, And the video argues that like the real benefit here is that it frees up engineers to focus on those higher level things like leadership, management, human connection, the things that are really important in any project.
That's huge. And that makes me think about like the bigger picture,
Yeah.
It's not just about the individual engineer. The DFX Logic video, they make the point that for business owners investing in AI, it's not just about like small improvements here and there. It's strategic.
Yeah.
And for engineers like Mr. Ulufi, it's a way to have more impact on their work. And then for the whole industry, it's like a big step towards digital transformation.
Right. Yeah. It's like human expertise plus artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Powerful combination.
So let's dive into Mr. Ulufi's career a bit, see how some of this plays out.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's got 24 years of experience, right? And he started back in 2000 as a safety officer at this big manufacturing plant. And, it's interesting, that early focus on safety and like self-supervision, it seems pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like a career built on like really understanding how things work in the real world.
Right.
And the importance of safety. And then looking at his resume, you see him move through all these different roles.
Right.
So like there's project planning and design at Avindo Construction, where he's doing design work, budget management, structural analysis. And then his time at PT Victory Chinglu, in safety and Kaizen, this continuous improvement thing, it really highlights that like he got this early understanding of optimizing processes, making sure things are safe. And those are like skills that are valuable everywhere, not just in engineering.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, one thing that really stands out to me is the variety of industries he's worked in. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
It is.
Construction to manufacturing.
Yeah.
With companies like PT Anesis Group and PT Victory Chinglu.
Right.
And then he's in the food and agriculture sectors with PT Cargill and Frisian Flag Tetra Pak. He even worked as a consultant for PT Duhis, doing strategic planning.
Yeah.
And that's where he was developing these like very detailed plans for road paving and drainage.
Oh, wow.
Which involved like some pretty serious analysis, load analysis, structural calculations, creating design drawings, managing budgets. I mean, that kind of breadth of experience, it really says something about his ability to adapt,
Oh, for sure. And what really jumps out at me? His experience at Frisian Flag Tetra Pak on Project Juno, this massive like IDR 4 trillion automation project.
Wow.
He was the project control there. And he was leading all these critical things, the planning, execution, budget management, risk mitigation, communicating with everyone involved. And, the resume specifically mentions making sure the project stayed on schedule and within budget, and that they maintained really strict quality control and documentation. And to me, this just screams like, this is exactly the kind of huge technologically advanced project where AI could be so beneficial.
Right.
Like, the YouTube video talked about those efficiency gains.
Yeah.
AI-powered tools for analysis, for risk assessment, like that's where they shine.
It is amazing to think about the scale of that project,
Jeez.
and the responsibility. And even before that, he spent like a whole decade between 2010 and 2019 as a construction manager and a project engineer.
Wow.
So that shows a really deep understanding of like every stage of a construction project, from like the initial feasibility studies to planning, design, and execution. He also mentions working on process flow analysis, developing algorithms, even scripting applications. And, that coding expertise, it really ties back to what the video was saying about programming being so important for engineers now.
Absolutely. And the fact that he actually built a project tracking application while he was at Enesis, that really highlights this point. It wasn't just, okay, I'm going to manage these projects using whatever tools are out there. It's like he's using tech to actually make the whole process better. And his portfolio description for that project, he talks about identifying and addressing potential problems really early on.
Right.
And that's that insight, that data-driven decision-making that AI can make even better.
Exactly, yeah. And then let's not forget, he also had that earlier experience in 3D design and CNC programming. So he understands how to use digital tools for design and manufacturing even before AI was, what it is today. It's like he's been building up to this,
Yeah.
like becoming more digitally fluent throughout his career.
Yeah, totally. And if you look at his skills section, he really emphasizes certain things. Construction, project management, and controlling, construction design and planning. And within that, 2D and 3D modeling. Then data analysis with programming skills in VBA and Python, safety management, strategic planning. And those are all areas where AI is just exploding right now. It's offered all these new tools for analysis, for design, for making project management way more efficient.
Right. And what's great is he actually provides links to his professional portfolio.
Oh, that's smart.
Which includes YouTube videos, and it shows him like actually working on these projects, like the drainage project at Duhayas, his work at Cargill, and even that project tracking application. So it's not just bullet points on a resume, it's like proof, It is. Like, for example, he talks about finding and fixing design flaws in that huge Tetra Pak Juno project.
Wow.
And that kind of problem solving, imagine if that was combined with AI tools.
Right.
Powerful, right?
Super powerful. And in the description for his Cargill work, he talks about completing a complex project with very little planning up front.
Oh, wow.
Which meant he had to adjust the design and the implementation along the way to meet the standards. And, that kind of adaptability, that problem solving under pressure, AI can make that even better, like with tools for quick analysis and simulations.
Right. And then he emphasizes that he supervised all these projects with no major accidents.
That's impressive.
And no negative issues, coming from his leadership. And that focus on safety, on successful execution, it fits right in with like the core goals of good engineering. And those are areas where AI can really contribute, with things like advanced risk assessment and predictive analytics.
So, bringing this all together, the DFX Logic video gives us this really compelling vision of what AI can do. It's like this force multiplier for engineers, right? Letting them do more, do it faster, with more insight. And ultimately, it lets them focus on those like higher level strategic things.
Right.
And then we've got Mr. Luffy. He's got this long, varied career.
Right.
And he's embraced digital tools. He's led these huge technologically advanced projects. And his career is like a real world example of how the engineering landscape is changing. You need to be adaptable. You need lots of different skills. And his journey really shows how a lot of those concepts from the video are playing out in practice.
Totally. And, looking at Mr. Luffy's career over the past 20 years, you can really see those trends that the video talked about.
Right.
The need for really sophisticated data analysis, the increasing automation, which, you need programming skills for that. And then just the importance of having expertise in a lot of different areas. Those aren't just ideas. They're shaping how engineers work.
They are.
And I think, whether you're just starting out in engineering or you're already a pro, or even if you're just interested in like how tech is changing things, it's so clear that you have to keep learning.
Yeah.
And you have to be open to these new technologies.
Yeah.
I mean, the future of engineering, it's all about using these powerful tools like AI.
For sure.
But also building on those core engineering principles, those strong project management skills, so we can tackle the challenges that are coming, and they're going to be more and more complex, right?
Absolutely. And that leads to a really interesting question. I mean, given how fast AI is evolving and how it's being integrated into everything engineers do, what skills do you think engineers are going to need in the next 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
And how will that, that focus on like purely technical stuff? How will that shift towards more strategic, more collaborative, more, ethically aware roles? I mean, as these intelligent machines become more a part of how we work, that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
A good one to leave everyone with.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time.
Thanks, everyone.